Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gail Skura, and I'm the Marketing Director here at Science Interactive. For today's webinar, we encourage you to participate in the conversation. Please feel free to use the chat function throughout the discussion if you have any questions or comments that you'd like us to address. At Science Interactive, we believe that providing a quality science education online should not be hindered by cost. That's why we're excited to introduce you to our new hybrid pricing options. This approach is designed specifically to give you the flexibility to choose from hands-on and digital lessons, or even a combination of both, to help meet the needs of your course and your budget. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Caitlin Runne-Janczy, our Chief Academic Officer, to give you more details.
Thank you so much, Gail, and welcome everyone. We're so glad to have you here with us today. I'm Kate Runne-Janczy. I am the Chief Academic Officer here at Science Interactive Group, and I've been working at Science Interactive for just about 7 years now. I started off as one of our curriculum developers and have moved into running our curriculum team. For a little bit of background on me, I got my BS in biochemistry at Marist College, and then I moved on to do my PhD at the University of Iowa in pharmacology, as well as my postdoctoral fellowship in the Department of Biochemistry. And throughout that time, I had the opportunity to teach a number of different on-campus and online courses, and even had the opportunity to design and work with our course designers over at the University of Iowa. So really have enjoyed taking what I've learned there and expanding it as a part of Science Interactive Group the last 7 years. So at Science Interactive, we strongly believe that success in online science requires a virtual learning environment that's really exceptional for students, that's intuitive for students, that also provides them with a similar hands-on experience compared to what they're doing in an on-campus laboratory. I know for myself, one of the most crucial parts of my development as a scientist was my laboratory courses that I took, and it was the experiences I had in those courses that really drove my love of science and drove me to pursue a higher degree in science later on in life. For the past 30 years, Science Interactive has had a continued mission to design, implement, and enhance a product that really empowers instructors to deliver remote science labs using a combination of real hands-on experimentation, rigorous digital curriculum, and our customizable platform. And over that time, we've become a partner to over 800 institutions nationwide and have offered over 450 digital and physical experiments across 10 different science disciplines to our clients, including biology, chemistry, A&P, physics. We do micro, pharmacy technician, really a little bit of everything. If you can think of a discipline, we probably have some curriculum that covers those topics. When it comes to online learning, especially if you've never taught online before, or if your only experience with online learning has been COVID and that really rapid pivot to online education, we know there's a number of common concerns for those who haven't taught before. That includes laboratory safety, ensuring a safe environment for students who are remote, who may never have worked with chemicals or dissection specimens before, maintaining rigor, student retention, as well as student engagement. And if you have a question on any of those, I'm happy to address those today. But for today's conversation, I'd really like to focus on one concern in particular. And that really is, how can you provide an online student with an affordable online laboratory experience while maintaining a hands-on laboratory component? As many of us know, affordability of higher education for students has become a huge topic of great concern, both in the media and the academy. Many faculty, deans, and even full institutions are reviewing their materials costs for students to ensure that the expectations for students are really reasonable due to the ever-growing concern of the student loan debt and loan burden on the students. However, we also know that this has to be balanced with the requirement for hands-on laboratory experiences for online laboratory science courses. From our experience, and I'm sure yours as well, we know that students engage more in science courses when they're physically interacting with materials, they're seeing the principles and concepts of chemistry or biology firsthand. And even more importantly, especially for many major courses or for pre-health sciences disciplines, we know that students need a hands-on laboratory component as a requirement for credit transfer. That being said, we know for some students, there's a huge interest in maintaining an online course component moving forward. It allows students flexibility, whether they have a job, maybe family obligations for children or aging parents, if they're caretakers. And so there really needs to be an alternative for these students to the on-campus laboratory that they can fit into their busy lives. So the big question remains, how do you balance incorporating a hands-on laboratory experience for online students while maintaining an affordable price point for the students? So at Science Interactive, we really believe in a hands-on approach, but also in a hybrid approach to laboratory science that can support an affordable experience for students while maintaining that essential hands-on laboratory activity. But what do we mean by hybrid? Like I mentioned earlier, we have a very large library of lessons. It includes both digital and hands-on experiments. And what we look at is that we can provide students different combinations of hands-on and virtual lessons to create a kit that really hits most any target price point that you're shooting for. And so we'll walk through a quick example of what I mean here. What I have on this page is an example of one kit with 13 labs, and really looking at how we can balance the ratio of digital and hands-on activities. So at this is 13 biology labs. If we take the maximum number of hands-on labs, so these are 9 hands-on activities and 4 digital lessons, that includes things like the scientific method, chemistry, fundamentals, things that are a paper and pencil experience to help bridge the gap at the start of the semester. That's probably going to be at our highest price point. Through our robust library of biology activities, you can add additional hands-on or digital components. As you increase the amount of digital you incorporate into the kit, your price will go down. And so really what our goal is here is to allow you the flexibility to incorporate the hands-on labs that you're interested in, tied in with some of the digital activities to supplement, to really make sure that you can reach the price point that's going to be palatable for your students, to make sure that you have that hands-on component while simultaneously covering all of your learning objectives. So what we're going to do today is walk through a demonstration very briefly of what a hybrid course might look like in our Science Interactive Cloud. We're not going to do a full overview of the cloud. If you're interested, you can certainly reach out to me afterwards. I'd be happy to do a one-on-one showcase of the cloud for you in the discipline of your interest. But what we'll do is we'll walk briefly through a hybrid course, take a look at how that can be set up using anatomy and physiology as an example. We'll take a look at a couple of other digital lessons that we offer so you can see some of the variety that we have available to us. And then we'll do a walkthrough of our course builder on our website. So if you are interested in a hybrid course, what can you take as a next step to start determining what labs might be of interest, what we have digitally, and what we have with a hands-on approach. So give me one moment. I'm going to switch the screens over on my computer and we can take a look at our SI Cloud. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen and you can see the cloud here. What we're looking at here is one of our anatomy and physiology courses. In all of our courses, we generally start with our lab safety and getting started sections, as well as using our virtual microscope if that's being used. You can see we've done a little bit of rearranging on the lessons here. These 3 labs really set the stage for students, whether they're doing a hands-on or a digital lab experience, to understand how to use the platform, as well as how to safely navigate within the laboratory space. But what I'd like to showcase today is that this course is really set up to be a hybrid. So what does that mean? We have a mix here of hands-on experimentation as well as virtual experiments that we can offer to the students. So let's go to a good example here. The central nervous system is a great one. So here we have 3 activities for the students that they'll be performing as part of this lab. The histology of the central nervous system can be performed either as a virtual experiment using our virtual microscope or a hands-on experiment using physical slides and a physical microscope. The gross anatomy of the central nervous system is designed for students to have the opportunity to review the components of the central nervous system, the parts of the brain, and then students do a hands-on modeling activity building the brain themselves. And then here in exercise 3, this course incorporates a digital dissection, which is done in partnership with our partner BioDigital. We also offer a hands-on sheep brain dissection if you prefer a hands-on activity here. In most of the lessons in this course, you'll see a mix of hands-on and virtual activities, and that's really designed to give students a variety in activity, as well as to make sure that they're having that opportunity to perform activities hands-on, even if they're not doing a hands-on dissection. Another great one here is our, let's jump down here to the digestive system. So we once again have histology, a modeling exercise, the virtual dissection, and then here students have the opportunity to have do a hands-on experiment looking at chemical digestions of food. They receive a number of enzyme samples and look at how proteins and sugars are broken down in the body. So let's dive quickly into a lesson. We'll jump back to the central nervous system. Really briefly, I'll walk through the lesson. Like I said, we're not going to go into too much detail today, but all of our lessons start with a quick overview of how much time students should anticipate allocating, as well as the learning objectives. Throughout the introductory content, students will encounter a number of different questions, including test your knowledge questions for to understand what they already know, quick question time questions at the end of various pages to check, did I understand what I just read? And then throughout the introductory content, we provide the students everything that they need to really dive into the subject matter at hand and be set up to be successful in completing the experimentation. So we'll move rather quickly through here. You can see here another one of our questions here. We have interactives that students can select through, have the opportunity to learn more. It's a little bit more engaging than just reading through all of the content. Another one of our questions. Once students have completed the introductory section, they get into the experimentation. Students will receive a set of learning objectives for the experimentation. And here's where we get into the interesting stuff. So like I mentioned, this course is set up to either work with a digital microscope or a physical microscope. So students will receive slides if you're using a physical microscope, the spinal cord here, lens paper to go with the microscope. Like I mentioned, there's a brain modeling activity in here, so they'll receive a package of modeling clay and the toothpick. If you pick the hands-on dissection option, students would also see the dissection tools, the dissection pad, and the brain or the other dissection specimens here. And so once students dive into here, so students who are using a microscope get full information on how to assemble their microscope setup, work with the microscope. They're using our virtual microscope or V-scope. They have also all the information they need here. And students get very detailed information on how they can work through either their hands-on or their digital activities throughout. There are call outs for students to fill in data tables as well as take photos. With the photos, they are required to incorporate their name and the date to make sure they're actually completing the experiments. And all of that is housed within our data panels here. So all of the grading and all of the content that the students generate is incorporated within the cloud in a single spot for you. So moving through, we'll jump down to the brain dissection because I really think this is one of my favorite things that we offer. Like I mentioned, we offer both the hands-on sheep brain dissection as well as the virtual brain dissection. And really what I love about this is that as we develop our digital labs across the board, what our goal is that our digital labs really mimic exactly what our students are doing in the hands-on dissection. So for the brain or for the full body, which is the equivalent of the pig, we also have the eye and the heart available digitally and physically. We really aim to make sure that what a student is identifying in the physical brain, they have to identify in the virtual brain. If they are being asked to label structures, they have to label the same structures in the digital activity. And this is really important because we don't want there to be any differences in our learning objectives for the students between a hands-on experience and a digital experience. And the other great thing about our digital dissections, as well as many, like I mentioned, many of our other digital experiments, is that they can be mixed and matched. So if you wanted to do a digital brain, eye, and heart, but you wanted to do the fetal pig dissection, you absolutely can. And vice versa, you could do the physical organs and maybe the digital human body in place of the fetal pig. So we're really designing these so that you can tailor exactly what you want to do in your course hands-on and what you want to do in your course digitally. So you can see here, students get instructions on how to launch the virtual brain model and a full protocol that they'll work through. See here, this is our brain model. I really love this activity. Students use the functions within BioDigital basically to work through hiding the different layers of the brain. Instead of the physical cutting through, they hide the different layers. So they can view the interior of the brain, view the structures. They can select the different components and get more information. They can navigate, move the brain around to make sure that they've cleared everything out to see the different features. And really, it's a great virtual way to allow students the opportunity to really dive into these structures, even if they don't have a hands-on specimen in front of them. Let me see, is there anything else here? Both our hands-on and our digital activities all have post-lab questions. These are short answer questions that students are really being asked to interpret what they've learned, analyze what they've learned. And then as a wrap up in all of our lessons, we also include an evaluation section where students have a competency review. That's a 10 question multiple choice exam to show that they've achieved all of the learning objectives, as well as an extension question. So really asking them to take everything they've learned in the lab and apply that to a real life scenario. Those are my favorite questions in there because it really requires the students to think. They get to see science in action in real life, and it really helps them to understand the broader scope of the world around them. So I don't want you to think you're limited to just A and P for our virtual activities. We have a number of virtual activities available across a number of our disciplines. I'm going to pop over to this activity because this is another one. This is used in our chemistry kits as well as our biology kits. And this is an enzyme catalysis activity. And once again, this is designed to mimic our hands-on enzyme activity that we also offer for biology and chemistry. So in here, when students enter this experiment, they get a little bit of background about what they're doing. So here they're learning about catalase in yeast, what its role in the yeast is, and why they're evaluating the effect of temperature on catalase. They get a little background. They're going to test catalase activity at 3 different temperatures to see how different temperatures impact enzyme activity. And then they get a little bit of detail about why they're doing this and how this is going to be done. So students work through each of these activities. They're provided direction within the activity, as well as in some cases outside of the activity in terms of callouts to the data tables. What I love about these activities also is that all of these are WCAG 2.0 compliant. They're tab navigable and ADA accessible. So you're not limited if you have concerns about students who may require accommodations. These are screen reader compliant. And so they are accessible to all students. And we really try very hard when we design to design these with all of our students in mind. So students have the opportunity, they're going to select whether they're going to start with the refrigerator to the cold room temperature or hot temperature to test the enzyme activity. So we'll start with the hot water bath. And so students get all of the instructions. They have to type in the temperature, start the activity, place the yeast in the jar, and start measuring the oxygen. The computer on the screen will collect the data, and then there's callouts down here that the students will fill in the data tables I showed you before. They can record the data. I believe we also have the students graph this data and submit a graph to you to review. And so they'll complete this for all 3, compare their data, analyze that data, and then answer the long answer questions. So we're really designing these so that they mimic the hands-on activities. So as you're approaching your course design, you can really make the course your own. So if you're interested, and if this hybrid approach is of interest to you, let me show you how you could go about starting to set up your course. So we're going to go to the Science Interactive website, and we're going to go to this Get a Quote page. This will bring you to all of our disciplines that we have available, but let's start with biology, because we just touched on a biology lab. Within here, I'm going to delete that out of there. You can get a list of all of our lessons, and this will include all of our hands-on activities and our virtual activities. Within this list, you can go through, you can review our experimentation learning objectives to get a sense of what students are going to be doing in each of these labs. And as you move through, you can see we have here options for a hands-on activity or a virtual activity included here as well. And so what I recommend doing if you are interested in setting up a hybrid course is visiting our course builder, reviewing the discipline of interest for you and for your students, and really reviewing the learning objectives to see what best fits your course. When you're starting, you may not know exactly where you want to go digital or where you may want to go hands-on, and that's not a problem. We can set you up with a custom demo with access to both the hands-on and the digital lab, so you can review, see what best fits your course and your learning objectives, to make sure that you're really hitting all of those learning objectives that are essential for your course. Like I said, we can scroll through. We are constantly working to expand our digital activities that we have available. So some of the things that we have upcoming, we'll be offering some virtual dissections for biology. We've never had that before. In our invertebrates, our 2 invertebrate and our vertebrates labs, those are probably going to be coming in the next month and a half or so. We're really excited about those. So we're really working to expand what we can offer so that we can really target the best kit for your students. As you're working through, you can select the lessons of interest, toss in invertebrates. This will be the most random course possibly you've ever seen here. But you can select the ones of interest, hit continue, and this will be submitted to our support team, where we can set you up with a custom demo, access to the content so you can review both the hands-on and the digital activities to see what will best fit your course. So where do we have hybrid options available? Let me switch my screen one more time on you guys. Here we go. Oh, before I go into that, let me touch quickly on our HandsOn Lab Kits. As I mentioned, we have our digital, we have our hands-on activities. We do provide lab-grade materials for all of our hands-on activities. That ranges from real beakers, graduated cylinders, test tubes, test tube racks, for students who are taking most of our disciplines, biology, chemistry, etc. We offer in our microbiology courses, we are providing students with real non-virulent bacteria that they can grow at home. That includes a non-virulent strain of E. coli, staph epidermidis. For A&P, we provide, like I mentioned, dissection specimens. We have the sheep brain, cow eye, sheep heart, as well as the fetal pig available. And then across all of our other disciplines, we provide chemicals in really small baggies that are targeted so that students have really easy time identifying what is used in what experiment. The bags are designed so that all of the chemicals for a single experiment are in one place. They're in small enough volumes that students can perform the experiment twice. We know students make mistakes. So they can pull their bag out, they're ready to go for their experiment, and they know they have enough to do the experiment at least 2 times. And if they're unsuccessful the first time, or if there's spill, etc. Other things we provide are physical microscopes, if that is of interest, and slide sets. We provide a full-size skeleton for students taking anatomy and physiology. I think it's 42 centimeters high, for modeling muscles, as well as observing the joints and different bones of the body, as well as for our pharmacy technician kit, mortar and pestle, pharmacy technician counting tray, and other similar items, as well as for all our kits, full PPE. So all of the materials that the students need for the hands-on labs are provided in the kit, with some exceptions: large volumes of water, paper towels, things students would have around. So now let's talk about what courses we have hybrid options available in. We are really excited that most of our disciplines do have a hybrid option available. The exception here is microbiology, but we have hybrid options available in A&P, biology, environmental science, forensics, as well as geology, farm tech physics, and some of our other chemistry disciplines. I'll also touch briefly on chemistry. We have approximately 16 digital lessons available in chemistry right now. We will be expanding that out by an additional 9 later this summer through a partnership that we have with Beyond Labs. We are going to be incorporating the virtual lab benches that Beyond Labs provides into our digital curriculum this summer to really give students an authentic experience working at a lab bench at a chemistry lab in a digital manner. It's a super impressive platform. We hope you guys will join us a little bit later this summer when we do our webinar to introduce that content. But we're very excited about that partnership and the new opportunities we're going to have to bring chemistry to our students who are working in a digital format. With that, I'm going to close out this session with some question and answers. Gail, if we have any questions that have popped up throughout the webinar. But like I said, this was a very brief overview. We didn't go through all the functionality of our cloud platform, but if you are interested in learning more, if you are interested in looking at building out your digital or hybrid or hands-on kit, please don't hesitate to reach out to us or try out the course builder. We're more than happy to work with you to identify what's going to best fit your course. You can work with our science team to do a lab alignment, to get a recommendation based on your syllabus of what will best fit your course. We're really happy to support in any way as you're looking to bring your science course online. So yeah, Gail, I'm going to turn it over to you for any questions we might have.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Runne-Janczy. We did receive a few questions. Is there a minimum order required for these customized and blended kits?
Not to my knowledge. I need to check in with our sales manager, but to my knowledge, we do not have a minimum order requirement.
Okay, thank you. And is your platform ADA compliant?
Yes. So like I mentioned, I spoke specifically to the digital labs, but our platform is WCAG 2.1 compliant as well as ADA compliant. All of the virtual components within there are also screen reader compatible 2.1 compliant as well.
And then another question, can I customize your curriculum?
Sure. So I didn't go through that in our walkthrough. We do have a number of instructor features that allow for some customization of the content. So one thing to point out, you cannot change directly the introductory or the experimentation content, and that is due to liability concerns. We do provide liability coverage for our hands-on activities, and any changes to that can result in loss of that liability coverage. So we don't allow changes within those two sections. That being said, we do have an instructor notes feature that allows you to add notes for students, maybe to hone in on potential questions that students may have frequently had in the past. You can add pictures, you can add videos, you can add additional context or color to some of the commentary that we have in here. You can also do instructor notes at the start of your course. So within that lesson list to, remind students, hey, lab 1 is due on Friday. We also just recently launched a question customization feature. So any of the questions within the content, the photo uploads, etc., all of those can be hidden, removed, added to, or you can add your own questions in. It's a really great measure to prevent plagiarism. It's a really great measure to keep the course fresh over time, and really to make the questions most reflective of what you want the students to get out of the course. So we do have some opportunities for customization within the content.
Awesome. Another question, can you merge into LMS systems like Canvas?
Yes, absolutely. So we do integrate via LTI into most learning management systems. Actually, I think all learning management systems that we've encountered so far. We frequently do D2L, Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, and we do have a specialist here on staff who can support the integration if you have any questions or run into any difficulties. We do have a team here that can support that.
Great. It looks like we do have a few other questions. If I find that I just want to use your virtual lessons, is that allowed?
Yeah, so if you take a look through and you see just a suite of virtual lessons that are of interest, of course, we're happy to set that up for you.
And then can you just talk a little bit more about the virtual microscope?
Sure, yeah, I'll jump over and show that real quickly. Let me find where, let's move that over. There we go. So here we go. So our virtual microscope is one of the things I love most about it is that it really requires students to understand how a compound light microscope works. Students don't just get to jump to a slide image and see the end point. They have to understand how the microscope works and work through focusing it as part of the activity. So you'll see here, students, each time they go into this virtual microscope, they'll have to complete the steps of getting the microscope microscope setup. They have to turn it on. They can adjust the stage where it's located. They can adjust the magnification. So really, they have to understand how the microscope works to make the activity work. And they have to go through all the steps to get the slide on the stage, focused in, and the best image. It's one of my favorite parts of this. We have a really extensive slide library. It covers our biology, our A&P, our microbiology, as well as some of our forensics courses. And so there's a ton of activities that the students can do in here, looking at everything from bacterial stains, these different blood with the concentration for diffusion and osmosis. We've got plant slides, animal slides, numerous human tissue samples in here. And so it's really a great way for students to have the opportunity to work through. They can view what they're seeing under the microscope in this panel. And then once they've settled on an image they like, they can download that image, upload it into the cloud, and do all of the labeling of the things they need to identify within the cloud. That's just a quick overview. Once again, this is also ADA compliant. You can see there's keyboard accessibility here. All the instructions are here for students. So it's a really great way to give students experience with a compound-like microscope without having to purchase one.
Great, and it looks like we have one more question.
Sure.
Is every lesson in each discipline offered in both hands-on and digital format?
So we don't have every single lesson in both formats. Some are only available digitally and some are only available in a hands-on modality right now. So for example, for digital, some of the ones that are only available digitally, those are concepts that we can't send out items for a student. So in our organic chemistry course or discipline, we have a lab on NMR and a lab on IR spectroscopy. Obviously, we can't send a student an NMR. So there we use a virtual modality only. Also, some of our introductory lessons, so math and graphing preparation, understanding uncertainty in physics. Those lessons tend to be a more pencil and paper approach. They're great introductory concepts for students who are just starting out at the beginning of the semester to have on hand. Most of our lessons are available in a hands-on format. Like I said, not all of them, but the majority do have a hands-on format. And right now we're really working to expand what we are offering with a digital equivalent. So we do plan on rolling out additional digital labs over the course of this year and into next year to really expand where we have both available.
Great. And then are you going to move all your current labs into the cloud platform?
So right now, we are working on redeveloping a number of our disciplines. We're working on a redevelopment of microbiology, and we're just in the beginning phases of a redevelopment of our chemistry. Not all of our labs are going to be maintained as we move into, I think this probably pertains to some of our ESL clients. Not all of the ESL labs will be coming over, but the concepts that are covered in the ESL labs will be covered on the cloud as we work on these redevelopments.
Okay, great, thank you. Unfortunately, it looks like we are out of time. For those of you who have any questions that went unanswered, your account manager will be reaching out to you with a recording of this webinar, and they'll be available to answer any other questions that you may have. A big thank you to instructors like you who have continued to educate the scientists of tomorrow. And from everyone here at Science Interactive, we'll see you next time. Thank you.